And this is really the first time we're really trying to make sure that members understand that we are here to help, that SAFE is here. We are, going to be the financial institution, and we're going to help support them in any way we can. And that's a big driver in our department.
Greetings, neighbors. Welcome to another episode of the Perfect Sense podcast. I'm your host, Alex Becerra. Today, we are going to have a very engaging discussion about how to partner with your financial institution when you may be experiencing financial hardships or challenges. Today, I'm joined by Amber Mitchell from SAFE's Loan Servicing Department. Amber, welcome to the show. Would you mind just starting off by telling the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do here at SAFE?
Absolutely. So my name is Amber Mitchell. I work for SAFE Credit Union for the last 26 years. I work in our loan servicing department, which actually runs a gambit of a lot of things. Most of the stuff that we deal with come after a loan has been funded, whether it's a mortgage, an equity, or any type of auto or personal loans.
Amber, you and I have crossed paths many a time
Yes, we
during our
have.
careers at SAFE. I'm really excited to have you here. Today is probably going to be one of the discussions that leans a little bit more, serious. Folks may be finding themselves in a particular financial hardship or challenge, especially as cost of living goes up, there's economic challenges. So just to sort of set the stage, can you tell us a little bit about what the loan servicing department actually does?
Absolutely. So in this particular case, loan servicing helps our members when they are running into a financial hardship. Maybe you've lost your job, you have some unexpected expenses, medical. Recent windstorm, we've had members who had to pay large deductibles on their homes because maybe a tree fell through their roof. So you weren't planning on spending $1,000, in the next few days. So when that stuff happens, we're here to help our members and discuss options on loans they have with us. Loans that maybe an auto loan, maybe a personal loan or a credit card, and ways we can help them financially so they can afford to pay for those unexpected expenses.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talk a lot in terms of our financial education realm about, preparing for the unexpected, but disruptions come from all sorts of angles, right? So sometimes it could just be your insurance policies got hiked, or you did have some sort of unforeseen accident, or just an right? And so I think for many folks, especially when it comes to their lending relationships, there can be a lot of anxiety and uncertainty around what to do if something goes wrong. Would you say that that's probably true for most folks?
Absolutely. I mean, definitely we want to educate our members to make sure they have a backup plan and save money when they can. But when those unforeseen things happen, it's hard to plan for them, or sometimes they happen back to back, which is even scarier. And we want to make sure that members know that we're here to help them. If you're having a financial problem, reach out to us. Let's discuss. Let's see what options that we have for you. Most of the time, there's something that we can offer them to help them. We offer things like skip a pay, where we allow you to skip up to 2 payments on an auto loan or a credit card. Credit card is something people don't realize that's a potential option. We also offer something we call a partial payment option, where we allow you to make a half a payment, not a full payment, which gives you a little bit of a reprieve if something's happened. And, right now, you're right, it's been economically challenging for members, and we want to make sure that they understand they're not by themselves, right? They have a whole safe family here to help and support them.
I appreciate that you frame it that way, because I think, there's data that suggests up to 72% of working adults sort of identify financial stress as the number one source of stress in their lives. And I think along with that comes a lot of strong feelings and emotions. And I think oftentimes if somebody maybe is past due on a loan and they're starting to receive maybe a collections call or something of that sort, it can be fear, it can be they feel shameful or embarrassed and they're not sure kind of how to navigate that. Can you tell us a little bit about why somebody should not be afraid to answer a call from loan servicing?
So, collections is one of my partner teams. So, I work with them a lot. And when members are called by collections, sometimes they're given these different options to help them because, again, they also want to help our members be able to make those payments. And so when you get a call back, it's usually from loan servicing, and we're at that point offering you what options. We do a lot of our documentation via DocuSign, so there's rarely a time you even have to step into a branch or mail anything in unless you're asking this stuff to be mailed. But we can help you, and we wanna make sure that you're able to pick up our phone and know that when we're calling you, we're doing it out of care and out of concern to ensure that you're able to keep yourself financially stable and you're able to pay for those unforeseen expenses, and that you're not out on the island by yourself, and you're not the only member. There are other members that may be in the same predicament, and we wanna make sure that everyone knows that SAFE is here to help them.
Yeah, I think it's great that you illustrate that because it's not uncommon for people, especially, if they're well established into their adulthood. They may have had experiences with other banks or credit unions or financial institutions that were maybe not as positive.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we carry sort of that experience, it really kind of frames how we respond to certain situations. So it's great that you sort of illustrate, and I think it's important for people to understand that, lending, yes, is a function of our business, but we don't want to put our members in a situation where they're now committed to a loan and for whatever reason, right, they can't sustain that loan or
Yeah.
see it all the way through its term. And so I think it's great to know that they're supported in that way. You had mentioned one of the solutions being our Skip a Pay program. Can you provide a little bit more like clarity and details around how that works?
So when I say skip a payment, I mean you're skipping that month, but that money doesn't just disappear. The funds for that payment are just then moved to the end of your loan. So it extends the term, but it gives you that reprieve that month where it won't affect your credit, it won't reflect negatively um, that you didn't make a payment, but a payment wouldn't be due. So it gives you that reprieve to be able to pay for the unforeseen expense. Skip a Pay has a couple options. The Skip a Pay itself, or what we refer to as a partial payment option, which again allows you to make a partial payment, not a full payment. But again, just like Skip a Pay, that moves to the end of your loan as well.
So good to know. I think it's also a relief when people realize that it's not a one size fits all solution, right? We're going to actually take the time to really dig in, understand what it is that they're experiencing at this point in time, and really try and find a solution that's going to be the best fit to help them navigate that challenge.
You know, again, working for SAFE for 26 years, and the entire time I've been here, there's been something that we've offered members. And this is really the first time we're really trying to make sure that members understand that we are here to help, that SAFE is here. We are, going to be their financial institution, and we're going to help support them in any way we can. And that's a big driver in our department.
Yeah, that's one thing that I particularly love about this podcast medium is really trying to meet our audience where they're at
Yep.
and be able to provide the educational tools and resources. Sometimes when people need it the most, right? They're
Yep.
seeking out like I'm not sure where to ask questions, I'm not sure where I can find trustworthy information. But also it can be a preventative measure too. Like, if you know this information before you run into some sort of unforeseen circumstance, you feel a lot more confident and sort of empowered to be able to navigate, have that conversation, and again, work with your financial
Yep.
institution, right? In an ideal sense, when people are navigating their relationship with their financial institution, it should be built on mutual trust and a desire to really come out with as many win-win outcomes as we can.
And, ultimately, there may be times where we may not be able to help the member, right? But we're still going to find ways to, educate them on how they can, prevent this in the future, educate them on other ways and other options they may be able to get themselves back on their feet. And so ultimately, it's always comes down to how can we help our member, whether it's an actual financial help or it's a financial education discussion.
Yeah. And then I think it's also just kind of important to establish that like the more that somebody is like willing to engage in that discussion, the more we can sort of again find the right way to help them. Because again, if somebody is sort of engaging in this conversation and maybe they're not being forthcoming about all of the things that are impacting their situation, it makes it a lot harder for us to sort of identify like, well, how do we navigate through this with you, right? Because we want to keep our members, we want to make sure that they're
Absolutely.
happy and that as they journey through their life, like they can sort of look to SAFE as being a solid foundation and, and something that they can depend upon.
Again, I've been fortunate to be able to witness, the ways that we help members in our department and throughout our company. And I can just say that, after speaking to many members, they are very appreciative and very happy that Safe does this because you mentioned earlier, not every financial institution offers options. And so when they're able to come to us and we're able to help them, you hear that sense of relief in their voice, right? You can tell that they're going from heart palpitations to a big smile on their face.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not always exactly the help they're looking for, but it's giving them an option.
Exactly. And like one thing that we highlight a lot, especially on this show, is how Safe is so invested in the local community, right? Like when you're dealing with somebody at Safe Credit Union, they're in your neighborhood. They're part
Yep,
of your community. It's not somebody, clear across the other side of the country or a part of a contact center that you've never, interacted with. And so I think that also goes a long way in establishing that trust with folks of like,
absolutely.
hey, we're your neighbors. Our kids go to school together. They play in sports, whatever the thing is that might be there. There's some sort of like connecting thread
Yeah.
that keeps us all aligned.
Yeah. Surprisingly, most conversations that come around or are surrounded around financial hardship, excuse me, um, start in a branch or in our contact center by members making a comment such as, "Oh, I'm just trying to see, if I have enough money to pay for this deductible for my home." And that's an inclination for the branch and the contact center to say, "Hey, if you're having a struggle, you're looking at this, let me talk to you about this, about these options, or let me get you over to the department that can help you with these options." We've really tried to eliminate the contact center and retail having to be the experts.
Yeah.
That comes to my department, and we dive deep into how we can help them. But the branches and contact center listen for those key words or those key comments coming from members, so we can ultimately prevent them from going down that path before, like you said, anything negative happens.
Yeah, as a longtime Safe employee, I very much echo that sentiment because I think as we continue to evolve, that's one thing that I've been very proud of is how Safe really has leaned into uh, having not just a transactional relationship with the folks that we do business with, but like a consultative relationship.
Yep.
Like we have to be curious too. We have to sort of be able to answer questions and anticipate, what people's needs might be.
Yep. My rule of thumb is, and my long time with Safe is, it's not the members' job to be the experts. It's our job to be the experts, and for us just to listen to what they have to say, and then to help them with those questions and those needs.
Nice. I love that. Could you maybe share like a couple real life stories or
Absolutely.
examples of kind of what people have experienced and sort of that common thread?
We had a member recently that had some damage to their home due to a recent windstorm. And even though they filed a claim with their insurance company, one, you have to pay a deductible, and theirs happened to be $1,000. Two, it takes, some time for the insurance company to come out, inspect your home, and then to issue a check. So we have members that are, in predicament where they got to pay to fix their home during that time, as well as pay a deductible. And so this member had a large auto payment, and they were able to skip that month, which gave them some additional funds to help pay for their deductible that they weren't planning on paying. Plus, they're still having to, again, pay to have the work done on their home.
Nice. All right. That's a good one. You got another one?
I do. We've had a young member in their 20s who was in an auto accident, unfortunately. When that happens, it's already scary and nerve wracking. And they didn't realize that, oh, I now got to pay this auto deductible, right? Even though we know that it's there when you're young, it's something you don't necessarily think about. Well, that member didn't plan for paying that deductible. And luckily, they were able to have this conversation with the contact center, and we were able to skip their payment so they didn't have to worry about making the payment, and they can take that and put it towards their auto deductible, and they were able to get their car fixed.
Nice. All right. Good. I love those solutions. Those outcomes are great. And just to sort of even expand, right? I want people to sort of feel like they're seen and heard. I would think that other maybe common scenarios might be something in terms of like loss of employment or
Absolutely.
um, maybe somebody found themselves getting injured and now they have unexpected medical bills, right? There's a lot of different ways that people might find themselves in a particular hardship. I remember the first year where like I had to owe taxes to the
Oh,
IRS. And I was like, oh, now I've got this extra bill to pay. And so I think it's maybe helpful for our listeners to know that like, yeah, again, you might have a pretty like singular view of what you're experiencing right now, but there are scenarios that other people are experiencing that are similar in many ways.
unforeseen medical bills is definitely a big one. We know medical costs on the rise, deductibles, things like that. That is a huge one. Another one people necessarily don't think about, a death in the family where you're having to unexpectedly pay for funeral costs or travel costs because of a funeral. We look at those and we take each case by case situations to see how we can help them. But those are different ways that we potentially can help you when you're not planning on having to pay for that, especially, a death, things like that is something very traumatic for members. And so we want to make sure we're able to put their mind at ease and kind of help them with that.
Yeah, it's definitely can be overwhelming, right? When there's a financial burden as well as an emotional burden
Yeah,
and personal relationships get involved. And I can just imagine, like, for many folks, that probably feels like a weight that might be too heavy to carry.
absolutely.
So, before we jump into our really, really fun lightning round, I do just want to give you an opportunity. Are there any final thoughts, messages that you want to share with our listeners to sort of, I don't know, I guess remove the stigma of collections and loan servicing?
Absolutely. We want members to be reminded that even though we're a financial institution, we're not like every other financial institution. We are here to help our members, we're here to listen, and we want to find a way to ensure that you feel financially stable and that you have the assistance that you need. Again, working for Safe for a long time, and even before I became an employee, I was a member, which is what prompted me to become an employee. And, it was the connection I felt with the people that I spoke with over the phone or in the branch is what, prompted me to want to work here. And I want to make sure that members have that same connection and can reach out to us and ask us anything and talk to us about anything that they need financially.
And like, I think maybe the marketing team will love me, but I think, right, a lot of the sort of overarching theme is that we want to help members find the appropriate solutions for their needs right now so that they can continue to build financial freedom for what's next.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate you taking the time, Amber, to join me for this conversation. We are going to jump into the lightning round. So I've got two quick questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is there some sort of like personal financial goal that you're currently working towards, something that's like your North Star right now?
You know what? Funny enough, I've actually been asked this recently by someone else, and the answer surprised most people, but I'm really trying to focus on my retirement accounts.
Nice.
I'd like to retire before the standard age people retire, just because I want to travel more. So I'm really trying to, save every penny I have to put more into my retirement accounts to really, increase that and get that up there so I can retire early.
I love it. We don't live to work, right? We work to live.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
All right. And then here's my favorite part of the show. Do you have a local small business or restaurant that you want to give a shout out to?
There is a restaurant, and it's a really small restaurant. It's called Thai Hut. It's by my house. It's on Madison and Winding Way. They have some of the best Thai food ever, and I love when I go in there and I'm leaving and the guy tells me, "I'll see you next week," or "I'll see you tomorrow." And I love it because I'm like, I would like to come back if I can, but I can't afford to eat all the time. But they have some of the best pad Thai. It's so good.
Nice. Awesome. And so Madison and Winding, is that Carmichael?
Yes, it's actually on the corner of Madison and Manzanita, so in between Winding and Madison. But it's
Got it.
right there. It's right by a Lumberjacks
All
in
right.
that corner, but it is Carmichael.
Awesome. See, that's what I love about this show is I'm always getting new recommendations for like, where am I going for lunch today? So Thai Hut, excellent. We'll have to check it out. And yeah, you're not only getting those frequent flyer miles, right? But you're getting those getting the Thai Hut lunch visits. So awesome. Awesome. This has been such a pleasure, Amber. I really, again, appreciate you taking the time. And I look forward to maybe inviting you back in the future.
I would love that. And I've had a great time. Thank you so much for inviting me.
If you'd like to learn more about Safe products and services and how we can help you, visit our website at safecu.org and schedule an appointment with one of our professional experts today. Safe is federally insured by NCUA and is an equal housing opportunity lender. The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform on topics surrounding financial well-being. This podcast does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice and may not apply to your individual situation. You should consult with your own financial, tax, or legal advisor for specific information pertaining to your individual situation. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the participants expressing them and do not necessarily reflect those of Safe Credit Union or any of its officials.